What's up guys, this is Chris here, and today we're going to be talking about the most disappointing firearms 2022 edition. Now, I've done some disappointing guns in the past, but these are pretty close to my heart because they've happened to me recently. All of these guns on the list will be guns that I reviewed in 2022, and they'll all have came out in the past year or so. So today we're going to be talking about guns that I feel like had a lot of hype, but really disappointed me overall. So far so that a lot of them didn't even get full reviews. Now, this is a subjective list, don't get me wrong, some of these guns you guys might like, but I just didn't for the reasons that I'll explain here. That being said, I think a lot of them are at least disappointing, if not have some alternatives that I think are much better, especially for less money. But first I want to talk about my page supporters. Thank you guys very much. It's because of you guys we have lots of guns and gear and cool stuff on the channel, and if you want to support the channel, that really is the best way to do it. Just go to the link in the description below. If you're not interested in Patreon, YouTube has its own version now, Super Thanks. Many people have been using that lately. You can feel free to send us a Super Thanks. It buys ammunition and firearms either way. I also want to mention a local shelter in Ames, Iowa. It's the YSS. Those kids could really use your help. It's getting cold out here in Iowa, and it's a local youth shelter, so please go down to the description of this video and click the link, and it'll bring you right to the donate page, and you can donate to those kids. And finally, I'd appreciate it if you like, subscribe, and share. Any interaction with the video helps out a lot. We really appreciate getting the push from YouTube, so thank you guys very much. Now, let's get right into it with number 7, and these are gonna kind of go from least disappointing to most disappointing. And the least disappointing gun is gonna be the Ruger Max 9. Now, the Ruger Max 9 is a micro pistol, micro 9mm, along the lines of the P365, the M&P Shield, the Springfield Hellcat. It's Ruger's version of the P365. It is very, very lightweight, polymer frame striker fire design with a 3-inch barrel, very easy to conceal. That's not my issue with the Ruger Max 9. Now, the Ruger Max 9 also comes in at a pretty affordable price, which is nice as well, but the shootability is really poor. It's kind of like getting a P365 from Wish.com. It has really poor ergonomics, it's not as accurate, it's got kind of a shoddy trigger, and we did have a couple of malfunctions in the review process, and then a couple in the first shots process, and the increased recoil over the other Micro 9s, the similar price, the lack of accuracy, at least to me, and then the kind of shoddy grip. I just wasn't a big fan of the gun overall, and I really thought it was going to be nice. I really thought it was going to be one of those budget Micro 9s that I could recommend to everybody, and it just didn't end up being the case. Is it a really bad gun? No, but considering what I thought it was going to be, it was pretty disappointing. Still hate it. In at number 6, we have another gun that isn't really that bad, but just disappointing to me, and that is going to be the Springfield Waypoint. Now, the Springfield Waypoint is a bolt-action rifle that comes in lots of cool calibers, including 6mm and 6.5 Creedmoor. 6.5 Creedmoor is actually what I had it in. It has a carbon fiber wrap barrel, a pretty cool looking stock with an adjustable cheek piece. That's kind of where the cool factor ends for me, because honestly, it has kind of a lack of features if you consider the price of the gun. The Springfield Waypoint comes in at around $2,000, making it a very pricey bolt-action rifle considering that technology has been around for a minute. My issue is when you compare it to something like the Ruger American series or the Ruger Predator series, and you find out that the Springfield Waypoint shoots about 1.5 inch groups with very, very expensive match ammo, and so does the Ruger Predator, even though the Waypoint's $2,000 and the Ruger is around 500 bucks. Aside from it being very expensive, it also didn't have an adjustable length of pull, which is something that I have not experienced on a precision rifle over $2,000, considering how important I believe that is to your ability to hit at long distance. I also wanted to mention that lots of firearms that we've reviewed, including the B14 from Bergara, not only were 3/4 inch rifles that had all these adjustments, but the bolt was smoother and easier to operate as well. Now, you can get good performance out of the Waypoint, don't get me wrong, but I feel like it was really a missed opportunity considering how cool it looks, and if you would have just added a couple of features and maybe a better barrel, I feel like it would have been a really lights out bolt action rifle. That being said, I think anything over $2,000 should be very, very accurate and which should be absolutely perfect in the bolt action realm. In at number 5, we have the Smith & Wesson CSX. I love Smith & Wesson as a company. I love lots of guns they put out, but I especially love the Shield. I like the Shield a lot. I like the Shield Plus, and I really like the Shield Performance Center. And the CSX is kind of a Shield with features that, as a 1911 guy, I thought I would really like. The features are great in theory and not so much in practice. The trigger was actually pretty garbage. What the shit? You have a failure? What the fuck's going on with that trigger? Doesn't want to reset. Even though it's a single action only design, I don't know how that's possible. It's not only heavier, but the reset was longer as well, making the rate of fire much slower than the actual shield. The aluminum frame was supposed to add a little rigidity and weight to it to allow it to be shot better, but they're the same weight. You just don't get the polymer flex of the shield, so you actually get more recoil instead of less. On top of that, there's actually less texture on the CSX that there is on the shield, so you are able to grip the gun less as well. One of the things that I really didn't like about the CSX along the lines of the trigger are the user-induced malfunctions. So it has a 2011 style design or a 1911 style design, but the trigger is reminiscent of something that I have no idea what. I honestly, I've never had a single action trigger where the reset is literally as long as the break. So you keep short pulling the trigger like you would do in a revolver, for example. Like a lot of times if you go just to the reset of the revolver, you didn't go enough and you have timing issues. Whereas on the CSX, I felt like there's a natural spot where you should stop and reset the trigger, and it just doesn't reset the trigger, so you just hit a wall and nothing happens. I felt like that happens to me so much because I shoot so many 1911s and 2011s and the shield, which also has a shorter reset, that it was a real training issue and I kept bobbling the gun over and over again. And for that reason alone, I got rid of it. But considering all the other reasons as well, and just the sheer amount of hype that came behind this gun in early 2022, I expected just a legendary next generation concealed carry gun, and what I got was really forgettable. Now, in at number 4, we have a gun that I did like, but I sure as hell don't trust, and that is going to be the Springfield Prodigy. Now, the Springfield Prodigy is a single action only 2011 design that is not new, but it's new at its price point. Really, only the Bull Armory and maybe some very cheap Rock Islands give you a double stack 1911 capability under $1,500, and the Prodigy coming in around that price point with a company like Springfield, who is not what I would consider the most reputable, but certainly a large, big box style company that could deliver the productivity to make the 2011 a very popular platform. However, the Prodigy came out in classic Springfield fashion and had tons of reliability issues. And I just don't know how. The 1911's been around for so long. Springfield's been doing the 1911 for so long. They have many 1911s that work very well. And the fact that not only my Prodigy, which maybe had 20 malfunctions out of 1,000 rounds, was like the most reliable Prodigy I saw online. That's actually kind of crazy. I had so many people message me and say they had so many more malfunctions. There's companies cropping up now literally dedicated to making the Prodigy reliable. There's so many custom shops now that are switching over from staccatos to Prodigies to get all the mimmed and unreliable parts out of the gun that it started a new industry. My issue with that route is you buy a $1,500 gun, you pay $1,000 to make it reliable, and you're $500 over a staccato that you could have just bought already. You know what I mean? Because the staccato is only $2,000, it's only $500 more. We have 3,000 or even 4,000 round reviews now of staccatos that have no malfunction. It's crazy. They've been adopted by law enforcement, they've been adopted by the Texas Rangers, and if you're going to get a 2011, I would recommend spending the extra $500 and going there. Even though the Prodigy has a lot of good things going for it, basically all those good things are just 2011 related. You know, it has a great trigger, it's got good accuracy, it's got good recoil control, because it's a 4.25 inch Commander style 2011, which are notoriously fast and accurate. It just doesn't work. So because of that, it's on this list. Now, in at number 3, we have a gun that just hurts me. It just hurts me. It really does. And that is the Shadow Systems CR920. If you're a Glock fanboy, which I am proud to be, I have carried Glocks for literally years. I still continue to carry Glocks. I know the 43X isn't the best carry gun, but I carry it anyway. The CR920 sounded great. It sounds awesome. It's a little compact Glock clone that gives you the same capacity, size to weight ratio as a P365. It's essentially a Glock clone Micro 9 that came out before Glock made theirs. That doesn't shock me, because considering how Glock is late to the game on almost everything. That being said, I was very excited about it. Comes with serrations in it, 3-inch barrel, 10 or 12 round magazine capacity, optics ready out of the box, looks good, good texture. The grip is comfortable as well. And it has the same capacity as my 43X, however it prints much less and it's much more comfortable to carry. My issue with it, again, is that it was unreliable. We had multiple failures the first time we shot it, multiple failures the second time we shot it. We got the barrel from Shadow Systems, and good on them for sending the barrel out to fix the gun. That being said, we still have the odd off failure, which I just will not accept in my carry rotation. If you consider that guns like the P365 and the Shield exist and the Glock 43 exist, the three things that those guns always do right is that they almost always work. And that's what you have to do for a concealed carry gun. Accuracy doesn't matter if the gun doesn't work. Speed doesn't matter if the gun doesn't work. You have to make sure the gun works, and in this case it just doesn't. I would be carrying this gun right now if it was more reliable. All right, in at number 2, we have a gun that I just really didn't like. And if you don't believe me, you can go back and look at the first shots and see just how angry I was at the end. I got the Ruger LC Carbine, and I was kind of excited. I saw a few videos on YouTube. It just happened to be at my local store. All of you know I'm not the biggest fan of the 5.7 caliber. I like it in the P90, don't get me wrong. I like it in the Kel-Tec. I like it in handguns a lot because it's more interesting to me in handguns. A 16-inch rifle, however, that's the same weight as an AR-15 that shoots 5.7, that's hard for me. And I'll give you some reasons why. So first off, the caliber is very expensive. More expensive than 5.56, more expensive than 9mm, and you can get rifles that are lighter weight with better ergonomics in both of those calibers that are more effective in my personal opinion. The second thing is the Ruger LC Carbine is actually pretty expensive if you compare it to the PC Carbine, which in my opinion is a much better gun. It looks cheap. It looks like something you put in like a Ronin chassis. It looked kind of cool on YouTube. When I saw it in person, it just was not done very well. As I said in the other video, it kind of looks like they just scrambled a bunch of parts from the parts floor and put it together like a Lego set. Again, not to compare it to the Ruger PC Carbine, but since that gun exists, it is cheaper. It takes Glock mags. This one takes more expensive, hard to find proprietary mags. The PC Carbine takes the 9mm round, which is much cheaper, arguably as useful. Much more ammunition is available for the 9mm. You can find it at any gun store, whereas 5.7 is very difficult to find. I also want to mention that the magazine release and the safety and all the controls on the LC Carbine worked very poorly. Wow, this is the least ergonomic rifle I've ever felt. I thought that they would look like sort of an afterthought, and I felt like, again, the gun was just thrown together on a whim. It had not just shitty ergonomics, but it had one malfunction during the first shots. The gun, as far as size to weight to power ratio, is on par on the size to weight category as an AR-15, and I don't understand why you would ever buy this instead of an AR-15. Smith & Wesson Sport, Palmetto, Radical Firearms all make pretty reasonable ARs for that money or less, and they all come with better ergonomics, better accessories, more power, longer range, and more reliability. So overall, I guess my problem with the Ruger LC Carbine is that it exists at all. I think that it wasn't even a good idea on the drawing board, let alone in action. So overall, if you're looking at a Ruger LC Carbine, smack yourself in the head and buy an AR. There will be no honorable mentions, just simply because I couldn't think of any at the time. Thank God, because it's a list you don't want to be on anyway. So let's go right into number 1 with the Angstadt Arms MDP-9. Now, there's a lot wrong with the MDP-9, so give me a couple of minutes here. First thing wrong with the MDP-9 is the hype was so high. Everyone had videos on it for years. If you looked at SHOT Show like 2020, there was tons of people who not only shot it at SHOT Show, but absolutely loved it. I was super excited about it. I never got to see it in person until I did my actual review. So part of the reason why it was so disappointing is because it was on such a high shelf, I expected just this magical, mythical unicorn of a gun. What I got was a 3.7 pound, 5-inch barreled 9mm PCC that was supposed to be a mix of the MP5 and the AR-15. And what I got was kind of the worst of both worlds, I guess. It was around $2,500, making it hurt even more that it was so unreliable. Not only was it so unreliable, but we had tons of different malfunctions as well. It wasn't just one type of malfunction, but it was many different malfunctions. And along the malfunction clearing process, parts started to fall off. The charging handle fell off. We had to find that. Screws were backing out. Roll pins were coming out. It literally looked like somebody put this together in a kit in their basement. I was really underwhelmed by the quality of not only craftsmanship of putting the gun together, but the overall quality of the parts as well, especially for the unbelievable price of $2,500. I don't know if you're aware of the PCC market. It is kind of pricey, but there are very few PCCs that are less expensive than the MDP-9. You can get tons of MP5 clones. Trust me, they're reliable. You can get The Chris Vector, you can get the X-Star EP9, which functions and works better than this gun for like $400. The Strybog, I mean, endless versions of guns that are better than the MDP9. The recoil is supposed to be great because it uses the same mechanism as the MP5, so you're supposed to get MP5 style recoil with AR-15 ergonomics, and the concept of that is amazing. As a matter of fact, somebody actually did that well, and that's JP with the JP5. Now, don't get me wrong, that gun's expensive too, but at least it does what it's advertised to do. Whereas the Angstadt Arms MDP9 is not a competition gun like the JP5. It is designed to be a personal defense weapon. And in the realm of personal defense weapons, I give no quarter. If you are designing a weapon for self-defense, I expect it to be 100% reliable, and I expect parts to not fall off it if I throw it off my roof. Imagine buying that gun and having no knowledge of how terrible it is, spending $2,500 of your hard-earned cash that you probably saved up for months and could have spent on literally anything, and you ended up with that piece of crap. How disappointing could that be? Especially if your life was on the line and all you heard was a click when you expected a bang. That's a dead trigger again. So I'm not a big fan. I think you can get better performance with almost any PCC. I think the performance of the gun's way overhyped. I think it's an unreliable, overpriced garbage rod comes to mind. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please support your local homeless shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.